watch and burn.
Hey everybody! So tonight I want to talk about Nirvana's third and final album, and that would be 1994's In Utero. No wait, 1993's In Utero. This record came out in 1993. This record is like heavy as fuck. This has like the most complex songs. This has the most crushing rhythm section. Like Chris's and Dave's drums and bass, like they're just like, holy fuck, are they slapping incredibly hard here. This record is so meaty, even though at times I will say it still gets a little kind of crass, scratchy. But for the most part, I mean, the bass and drums are massive on this. And I also love, too, how in the liner notes, they had a bass and treble setting. If you had, like, an old component system, which most of us did at that point. I had this old component system from my parents, and the receiver had a bass and treble setting and a few other, like, this and that, so it would enable you to sort of tweak the sound. And so when I got the liner notes and I saw that it said bass should be positioned at 6 or whatever and treble should be at 4, I was like, oh yeah, like the guys in the band are giving me the inside scoop on how to hear the record better than all my friends. And none of my friends had component systems. They all had like the sort of early 90s like one deck things where they had everything built in. So they didn't have anything like this. They had like a few dials that would enable them to, like they'd have sound sweetening or some bullshit on it. It would be like super sound and you pressed it and it would sound better or whatever. But I actually had an old school component system, so I was able to dial this in. And yeah, when you upped the bass to where they wanted it, you felt the kicks that much more. And like I said, this record is actually crushing. This record sort of signified that grunge was dying, because by this point Nirvana was finished. Like, the guys in the band were getting tired of singing Cobain's songs, and one of them even made a crack about how, like, grunge will be dead in a year or something at some show. It was something to that effect. They're like, grunge is over, guys. And it kind of was. So I think Nirvana was finished no matter what. Had Cobain not committed suicide, or had Courtney Love not had him killed or whatever, I'm just going to stick with the suicide thing. Had Cobain not committed suicide, I still think this probably would have been Nirvana's swan song. I mean, maybe they would have tried to squeeze another one out of it, but with the band sort of falling apart the way that it just might have been at this point, it feels like, Cobain would have went off to do something on his own. And of course, Grohl would have most likely still done the Foo Fighters. And Chris still would have retired and gotten into politics. I mean, we'll never know now. Maybe Nirvana had 6 records left in them or something, but I don't think so. I think Cobain would have went off and sort of done like a John Lennon solo thing, and Grohl still would have, like I said, done the Foo Fighters. But, I mean, I love this record. I mean, Frances Bean will have her revenge on Seattle's on here. Radio-friendly unit shifters on here. Fucking Milk It is on here. That's like one of the heaviest songs ever written. Fucking Tourette's is on here. I love Tourette's. Tourette's and Milk It are 2 of my favorite songs ever. I mean, Scentless Apprentice is on here. Heart-Shaped Box is on here. Very Ape is on here. All Apologies. Pennyroyal Tea. I mean, Jesus Christ, this record is another fucking knockout from Cobain. He goes from Nevermind to this, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this guy's songwriting talent knows absolutely no limits. And then he killed himself. And that was a crazy period, too, because there were all those copycat suicides. I ended up going to 2 sort of like candlelight vigils. There was one in Oshawa, and there was one, I think, up by Pickering High in Ajax, I think. Because I think we were up by Pickering High for the other one. There's a lot of people there. The one in Oshawa, like, I don't know, well over 100 people there. And I know that his death had such a significant impact on the social fabric of, like, teenagers' existence at that point, because there were roughly about 75 copycat suicides, give or take. So Cobain's death really impacted a lot of us. Like, I remember I was going to bed, and I was on channel 26, and it was this like news channel, and I saw his picture up in the top right corner, and the chick was like, he was 27, and then they cut off to other news. And I remember they had a Much Music had Facts on. It was their Much Music. Facts was a music-based sort of news program that Much Music ran. They had that and Rapid Facts, which was a quick 5-minute version of it where they just update you on the music world fast. And so I knew that was coming on in a while, and it was about 10:30 or so when I was going to bed, and then I knew Facts was on at 11. So I waited, and sure enough, there was Teresa Roncon standing there with like a bunch of fans saying like, I don't know what to say here, but Kurt Cobain died yesterday or the day before of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. And it was like wild. I remember I woke my parents up, and my parents were like, what? And I was like, yeah, Cobain killed himself. And that was it. Like, everything was just over. And then the flood of books happened. Fucking guy wasn't even dead 48 hours, and people are already putting out books about his life. I mean, people are such vultures, eh? But look, I'm going to stop talking about this record. This record's impact was massive. It still kind of is massive. And this was such a wild period. But look, so thank you so much for hanging out with me for almost 6 minutes while I discuss Nirvana's final album, and that is 1993's, I almost said Unplugged, In Utero. Like always, if you like this review or you like this record, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. But please, most importantly, like always, don't forget that the world is actually a better place because you are in it. And I mean every word of that. I'm going to go. Have a good night.